In the 1980s, I was a producer at CBS News in the days when it was still a journalistic organization, and I had this idea, I had this insight. You know, we used to go out with the cameraman, the soundman, the producer, the editor, all that stuff. And I looked around, I saw the rise of these little video cameras, high 8 originally. Of course, they only got better. And it occurred to me that you could make television news in a different way, that you didn't need the crew, that you would just have one reporter shoot their own video camera. And so I went down that path, and obviously it led logically to the idea that if a reporter could do it, then anybody could do it. And this was this notion of democratizing news and journalism and television and all that, which in those days was a very radical idea. Today, the notion that anybody can make video is obvious because look what I'm doing here. And I used to go around all over the world giving these speeches about comparing the advent of little cameras and then iPhones to Gutenberg's printing press and how it would democratize news and journalism and make the world a much better place. And I was fundamentally wrong. I was wrong because I overlooked one part of the thing that I didn't think about and I hadn't realized, and that was it was great to have people make their own stuff, and then you need an outlet. And if you're a reporter for CBS, you have the CBS, and if you're NBC, and you have the broadcast towers, and you have cable and everything else. Well, along came the internet, and then anybody could upload anything to everybody with an audience of 6 or 7 billion people around the world at absolutely no cost, and that seemed okay. And then came the part that I didn't think about, and I didn't really understand, but I understand now. And that is that the platform, the access, was controlled not as an open platform, but it was controlled by people like Facebook or Elon Musk or Zuckerberg or YouTube, like here we Google. And their interest was not in spreading truth or in democratizing anything. Their interest was in making money, which is reasonable. They were a business. And they looked at this content, like we're making here right now, as a vehicle for attracting eyeballs. And the eyeballs is what they sold to advertisers. So the client, the people that served by Facebook and Instagram and places like that, is not us, not the people who make the content, not you look at the content. The people that Instagram, that they care about is the advertisers, because that's who pays them through the ads. And so they created algorithms that began to aggregate the video, not based on importance of the story, like the New York Times might do, or veracity of the story, like the Washington Post or any other newspaper would do, or any broadcaster in the old days would do. They instead began to create algorithms that aggregated the content based on how many eyeballs they attracted. And what attracted the most eyeballs was the more inflammatory, the more annoying, the more insane, the crazier thing you could write, the more they were elevated in the algorithm, and the more people saw them. And the more people saw them, they became angry and they watched more. And this, of course, drove the interests of people like Facebook or Instagram to aggregate and create people who stayed longer and watched more and brought in more eyeballs they could sell to advertisers. But it had a side effect that we didn't really think about, and that was that it warped our perception of what society was and what people really thought. And in some ways, it warped what people actually did think, because the average person now spends 8 hours a day looking at this stuff, and their thinking is circumscribed by what they see here, and what they see here is mediated by Facebook and Instagram and their algorithms. So it warped the entire nature of society. This is bad, and this is really bad. And so this made me start to think about the impact that technologies have, like Instagram, like social media, like the iPhone, like the internet, on society. And they have impacts that we can't anticipate when we look at the technology, when the technology is invented. When Zuckerberg created Facebook, he said it's to bring the world together and make communities and share and all. That turns out not to be the case. It turns out to be the case that the whole impact of Instagram or Facebook is to completely warp the way that we see the world and think about ourselves, create tribalisms, create anger, create hostility, and create the support of political candidates we might think are pretty reprehensible. So it was a mistake. And so what this made me think about is to write a book about the unintended consequences of technology and invention, which is what I'm doing. And publishing being what it is, the publisher says create an online naturally community, and so that's why I'm making this video, and I'll make others. So I hope you find this of interest. If you do, obviously like it and share it and put comments in, and I'll be happy to answer, because I'd like to start a dialogue about this and see if you feel the same way that I do. There's something fundamentally wrong with our relationship with technology. It just gets inflicted upon us. So that's it. That's my 5 minutes and 19 seconds, but I'll be back with more.